Hi guys and girls, welcome to another video in our series for the story department. And as usual, we'll have a logline review, but we'll start off with an element of story basics. I have mentioned events many times when we were talking about loglines. And today I wanted to go into a bit more detail. We won't cover everything because a lot can be said about events and there'll be more videos to come. I think it's one of the most important parts of a story. It's also one of the most underrated and undervalued parts of a story. And I see loglines very often posted on logline.it that are lacking that major event. So what is an event? An event is what happens to your character, but that also triggers an action. Because if it doesn't trigger an action, it's a non-event, as I call them. So good events, compelling events, have an impact on your character. They have consequences and they must act. They feel compelled to act. The biggest event of your story is the one that kickstarts the story, and often people call the inciting incident or the call to adventure or the catalyst, the opportunity, and so forth. Now, let's look at a few examples. I hope you've seen the movie 127 Hours. Actually, maybe you chose not to watch it because of what you heard about it. There's some gruesome scenes. I won't show you the most gruesome scene, but I will show you the event that kicks off the story. And we see James Franco here as an adventurous young man trekking in the desert, first by bike, then on foot. And somewhere in the first act, I think between 10 and 15 minutes somewhere, this happens. Tension rises. And over the movie title, we get the movie's major event that kicks off the story. He gets stuck. 127 hours, there we go. Now, at this point in the story, he doesn't fully realize what his plight is. It's still dawning on him. And it takes a few more minutes before the situation sinks in. Nonetheless, this particular event kickstarts the story. And you see it happens to James Franco's character. I think Aaron, his name is. Now, even if there were other characters around, we would be pulled into his character because it's such a major experience. And we would feel for him and would cringe as it happens. I don't know if that's the right word. I think that's what we say in Dutch. Anyway, let's move on to our next example. This is from Die Hard. In Die Hard, that one I suppose you have seen, and if you haven't, you should, because it's a great film. It's a great action film. It's also a great film to learn from. The major event happens when the Nakatomi building in LA, fictional Nakatomi Plaza, is taken over by criminals. And our hero, played by Bruce Willis, a cop from New York, witnesses this, and so he's compelled to act because he's a cop. He's there to serve and protect, but there's not much he can do. But let's watch the scene. So he's just witnessed what happened, and he's now escaping to the 32nd floor of the building where there's still what's going on.
Stay calm.
And then
it's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine. Happening with the criminals, and then we go back into the point of view of McClane, who is considering his options. This is a major event happening to this character, and you'll see he's going to speak a word that's relevant. He's back in a minute. Think. I'm going to give you another clip from Toy Story 2. And here we'll have a mini story with its own mini event. I'll just play it and oh no, that's a different one, hang on. Toy Story is here, yeah. This is the scene where Woody finds Wheezy on the shelf. in the first 10 minutes, I think, of Toy Story 2. And the interesting thing is that this mini story is effectively a foreshadowing of the full story of Toy Story 2. So you have Wheezy, who will soon be taken by Mother to be sold
Put me on the shelf.
Well, why didn't you yell
at the yard sale,
Well, I tried squeaking,
which is a foreshadowing
but
of
I'm still broken.
Woody
No one
himself
can hear
being
me.
taken by the collector at that same yard sale.
Besides,
So the full story of the
aggravates
feature
my
plays out on a
condition.
miniature scale. That happens in other movies. Total Recall is a good example.
what's the point in prolonging
And I
the
think
inevitable?
Pixar have
We're
done
all
that
just
before
one
as well,
stitch
or
away
after
from
the
here
Toy Story 2.
to there.
So now we're introduced to the yard sale, which seems to be a big event because there's immediate action. Now this is not the major event. Even within this mini story, this is not the major event because our hero has an immediate solution. So this is very well rehearsed, which indicates that this has happened before. And a good event, a major event for a story, has never happened before. It's the first time. But now something will happen. Listen to the music. The suspense increases. And the true major event of this clip is about to happen when Mother goes to the shelf where Wheezy rests and she takes him. And he goes in the box.
Bye, Woody.
Now this hits Woody. And what does he say?
Wheezy! Think, Woody. Think. Oh!
Think. And he comes up with a plan. See, this major event kicks off the story. It is what motivates the story. David Mamet once said that drama answers 3 questions. Who wants what from whom? What if they don't get it? And why now? The first one is about the goal and the action. The second one is about the stakes. The why now is about the motivation and the event. What happened to this character that they want this thing now? So, and it should be the first time. If it could have happened earlier, then that's the story we want to see. So a good major event happens for the first time. And the yard sale has happened before, but Wheezy being kidnapped has never happened before. So that's an event happening to our main character and pushing him into action. So we'll come back to events later and see the difference between an inciting incident and a call to adventure. But for now, let's go to the log lines. So for that, we go to logline.it, the website. I haven't prepared that page yet. So let's hope that will be brought there quickly. And that there's a good logline to review. Okay, let's just pick the latest one, posted 7 hours ago. And just quickly making sure that you're seeing this one. Yeah. A young ex-basketball player finds himself falling in love with his best friend, but being feared to hurt her due to his post-traumatic stress disorder, he must learn to cope in order to move forward with her before he loses her for good. Now, Rock Boogie, the writer of this logline, is struggling with language, maybe not a native English speaker. If you are, I would, well, in either way, whether or not you are a native English speaker, I urge you to work on your grammatical structure, because there's all sorts of things not quite all right with this logline on a language level. So you need to sort that out first. Now we're looking for character, event, and action. So the character would be the young ex-basketball player, finds himself falling in love with his best friend. Sounds like an event, because in love stories, the falling in love is often the event. But being feared, afraid to hurt her due to his post-traumatic stress disorder, he must learn to cope in order to move forward with her before he loses her for good. All right, so character's clear, young ex-basketball player. There's no, other than the post-traumatic stress, there's no moral issue. There's no promise of a moral character arc. That's okay. So I would reword this less cumbersome, less wordy, because he falls in love with his best friend, but is afraid to hurt her because of his condition. So now he must learn to cope in order to move forward with her before he loses her for good. So we're looking for the action. So we've got the character, we've got the event, now we're looking for the action. Typically in a logline, when we find the word must that introduces the action. Must learn to cope in order to move forward with her before he loses her for good. Now that's not an action we need. In this series of videos, I'm going to touch on some very typical mistakes. And DPG, who is one of our top reviewers on the website, has helped me making that list of common errors. And this is one where the writer confuses an objective goal, a conscious goal, an actionable goal with a need, the need for character change or healing. So he must learn to cope. That's not a conscious action you can take. That's an inner process. In order to move forward with her, again, pretty vague, before he loses her for good. Why would he lose her? Not entirely clear to me immediately. So there's no other danger except for his character, his psychological state. So this logline promises an inner journey, probably a character movie where at the end, you know, they learn and heal and make some sort of inner process, inner progress. There's a transformation, but there's not much visual action. You're not promising us a cinematic film, and we need that. To have a strong logline, you need to show us something that can, you know, carry us through the whole second act of a film. So we need an objective goal, ideally. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to sell this concept. Good. So again, 2 out of 3. We've got a somewhat clear character. We've got a typical event for a love story, but we're lacking a clear action. So that's it for today. I hope that helped you. And over time, as you see how we review loglines, hopefully you learn a few tricks, and that may help you in assessing your own concepts and ultimately writing an effective logline for that. So post your loglines on logline.it. They'll be reviewed for free, provided you also review a logline or 2 as a matter of courtesy. And one thing I'd like to ask you, if you post your logline, then you revise it, do not post it again. Just put your revised version in the comments or in the reviews so we have a thread. As a result of the feedback you get, you then revise it in that same thread. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like these videos, and if you just like this one, then you can click that button. And if you are subscribed and you want to be notified from when we publish a next video, just click the bell icon and you'll hear from us. Good. Thanks for listening and watching, and hoping to see you for our next video. Goodbye.